Welcome to a story that begins not in a palace, but in the quiet corners of a heart that refused to obey titles. She wasn't royal, but she ruled his soul is not just a poetic phrase, it is the untold confession of Sheikh Hamdan, the prince who proved that love bows to no crown. This is the story of a woman who had no throne, no diamonds, and no name written in royal archives, yet she ruled over the very soul of a man the world called a ruler. Because some loves are not written in laws or lineage, they are written in eternity. Before she entered his life, he had everything that defined perfection, power, purpose, and praise from every corner of the world. But what he didn't have was peace. His smile shone for his people, but it never reached his eyes. Then, as destiny often does, it sent him a lesson disguised as a woman, one who spoke softly, laughed freely, and looked at him not as a prince, but as a person. The moment she walked into his world, everything gold turned pale compared to the light in her eyes. She wasn't born into palaces, but she carried grace like royalty. She never sought his attention, yet she had all of it without asking. Her presence was a quiet rebellion against everything the world expected from him. She didn't call him Your Highness, she called him you. And in that single word, he found a freedom he'd never known before. For the first time, someone saw beyond the royal smile, the polished speeches, the photographs. She saw the man who wrote poems to survive his silence. In her simplicity, he found his greatest luxury. They met under skies that had seen 1,000 royal banquets, yet their moments were sacred in their secrecy. They spoke the language of glances, of smiles that lingered too long, of words that carried more emotion than etiquette would ever allow. She would tease him about his perfection. He would laugh, not as a prince, but as a man who forgot the world for a few stolen seconds. She was not part of his kingdom, but she became its heartbeat. Yet love is never easy when it crosses borders of class, tradition, and expectation. He knew what was written for him: duty, diplomacy, legacy. She knew what wasn't: a life beside him. And still, they loved as if the universe had bent its laws just for them. But the universe is loyal only to truth, and truth often hurts. There came a time when silence replaced their laughter, when distance became their language. They didn't stop loving, they simply stopped hoping. He learned to live without her in the way one lives without air, slowly, painfully, beautifully. He poured his ache into poetry, and the world called it art, unaware that each verse was a wound disguised in gold. She became the you behind his words, the invisible muse behind every sigh he wrote. People praised his brilliance, but only he knew that brilliance was born from loss. She had left, but not entirely. She lived in the rhythm of every poem, every thought, every breath he took in solitude. Send. He never explained further, because how could he? How could he describe a love that existed outside of time, outside of reason, a love that ruled him long after she was gone? He understood, at last, that love doesn't always need to be lived to be eternal. Some loves exist only to awaken us, to show us who we are beneath everything we're expected to be. She was his awakening. She made him more than a prince, more than a poet. She made him real. And though she would never sit beside him on a throne, she would forever live beside him in every word he wrote, in every heart his words touched. To the world, Sheikh Hamdan remains a prince of vision and poetry. But behind every royal gesture lies the touch of a woman who once taught him to love softly, to rule kindly, to feel deeply. She wasn't royal, but her presence redefined what it meant to be one. Because true royalty isn't about titles, it's about the heart's ability to remain pure, even after it's been broken. He continues to write, not to remember her, but to honor what she awakened within him. Each poem he shares is a tribute, each word a prayer. His followers read his verses and call them love stories.
There are nights when the palace glows with golden light, when celebrations echo through every corridor, but he feels her absence louder than the music. Among laughter and luxury, his gaze often drifts to the stars, seeking the same one they once wished upon. The world sees a prince surrounded by admiration, yet in the depth of his eyes lies a longing that no kingdom can silence. For even when he stands before thousands, he feels that familiar emptiness beside him, the space where she once stood, invisible now, yet eternally present. He still dreams of her sometimes, not in fairy tales, but in fragments. A voice in the wind, a hand reaching through memory, a smile fading like twilight. In those dreams, she is not distant, she is home. He wakes with a smile that hurts, one that only a poet could wear, the smile of someone who has met love and loss in the same heartbeat. And when dawn breaks over Dubai, gilding the horizon with gold, he writes again. His words become her footprints across the page, each line a place where she still walks freely. Over time, he learned to turn his grief into grace. Her love had carved something within him that even power couldn't touch, humility. He began to see his role not as a burden, but as a chance to serve with love, to carry her spirit in every act of kindness. When he helps his people, when he listens to the dreams of the young, when he protects the beauty of his land, it is her influence he follows. She had taught him that greatness means nothing without gentleness, and that true royalty lies not in ruling others, but in healing them. There are poems he never shares, the ones written in the hours before dawn, where truth bleeds freely. Those verses are his secret kingdom, a realm where she still belongs entirely to him. He hides them not from shame, but from reverence. Some feelings are too sacred for eyes that only see beauty, not depth. Those hidden poems are not crafted to be perfect, they are meant to keep her alive. And in them, she remains untouched by time, forever young, forever luminous, forever his. The city that once separated them now holds pieces of their story everywhere. The sea carries her laughter, the sand remembers her footprints, and even the desert winds hum her name. Sometimes, while driving beneath the Dubai moon, he whispers lines to her, as though the night could deliver them across worlds. His car becomes a moving poem, his heart its rhythm. For a man who could command silence, he still chooses to speak to her, not aloud, but through the language they invented, poetry. He often wonders what she would say if she saw him now, a prince admired by millions, yet still ruled by the ghost of a woman the world